Good morning, students. This is my first online class with you on home science. I've already sent you the PDF explaining the chapter Food and Nutrition. So we begin the first part of this chapter today. And here, when we begin this chapter, let us first understand what is good health. Good health, we can say, according to WHO, is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and not just absence of disease or some illness. So, once again, I repeat, good health means a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being or wellness. A person has to be physically fit, mentally fit, and socially he should be acceptable. That means in society he has to be acceptable. And it is not just absence of diseases. A healthy person is one who's socially acceptable, mentally stable, and is also physically stable. So then only we can say that a person is of good health. So one more thing we have to remember when we talk of good health, that is the person who is of good health should be able to adjust to his or her surroundings, or which we say environment. So health is a factor where you have to adjust to your surroundings or your environment. Now let us begin with the main topic here, functions of food. So when we say functions of food, so let us first understand what do you mean by food. Food, we can say, is any nutritive material which we have obtained from plants or animals, and the human body, whoever consumes it or whoever eats the food, the human being is able to utilize the food in his body for growth, maintenance, tissue repair, and for producing energy for work. Once again, I repeat, what is food? Food, we can say, is any substance which provides nutrition to the body and is obtained from either plants or animals, and the human body can use it for growth, maintenance, to make new cells and produce energy to perform the different functions. So food helps us to nourish our body, satisfies our hunger, hence we feel satisfied, happy, and we are able to work. Now in this context, let us look into the functions of food. If you look into your notes, I've given you the functions of food. The most important function of food is the physiological function of food. Now, what is this? Physiological function of food means the food that we eat must give energy to the body so that the body can perform the different functions. Please remember, as you all know, you have been studying over the years in your biology classes, that there are many different systems within the human body, which is helping a human being to be healthy. And these maybe are the digestive system, circulatory system, nervous system, and so on. So the food that we eat must help in performing the human body to perform its different functions. So the energy that is needed for respiration, for circulation of blood, etc., is provided by the food that a person consumes. He may walk, he may play, he may perform different functions, and for each of this, energy is required, which is obtained from the carbohydrates and fats found within the food that he consumes, and this will help to give him energy. The second function of food is is as a bodybuilding food. Food helps in bodybuilding. So the body, what we find is that is constantly performing metabolism. The human body is constantly going through a process of metabolism. And I'll just briefly tell you what is metabolism, which you have definitely studied in class 10 in your biology class. That is, it comprises or it is made up of two processes, anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism means when we eat food, new cells and tissues are produced in our body. That is, addition goes on. This part of metabolism is known as anabolism. And at the same time, the old tissues, the worn out tissues, they are removed. That part of metabolism is known as catabolism. So new tissues are added on during the period of rapid growth. So mainly bodybuilding takes place in children because that is the age when the body is adding more number of cells. And this is done by the protein that we consume in our food. That's why protein should be an essential part of a child's diet because the child undergoes the process of body building and new tissues are produced. While in an elderly person, bodybuilding means that here we definitely, after a certain age, we stop growing. But there is repair work going on in the body. That is, old cells are being renewed. That is, new cells are being produced, which is replacing the old cells. And this is the bodybuilding function. So hence, the elderly people also need protein in the diet, but definitely less than that of children. The third function of food is protective. This is this function of giving protection to the human body from different diseases caused by germs like virus, etc., is done by the minerals and the vitamins that we consume in small quantity. We don't have to consume them in a big quantity, vitamins and minerals. And each vitamin and mineral has got a definite function in our body. As you all know, we need to have a lot of iron in our diet because the hemoglobin part of our blood mainly consists of iron. The pigment, hemoglobin is made up of iron. See, in the same manner, the human body needs a lot of calcium to keep the bones healthy, for proper functioning of the teeth, the bones, etc. That is a skeleton system. So in this manner, what we find is that each mineral and vitamin has got a definite function in our body and protects us from different diseases. Some diseases may be due to age, like osteoporosis, where the bones become soft, so a lot of calcium is needed in the diet. In the same manner, what we find is that we need a lot of iron to protect us from anemia. Then we move on to the next function of food. That is the regulatory function, which is mainly performed by not from any animal or plant source, but from water and roughage. Water and roughage, what we find is that helps us to remove the waste materials from our body in either the liquid, in a liquid form or in a solid form. The body has to get rid of waste materials. And this is mainly done by the water and roughage present. Then we next move on. The next function of food is, after completing the physiological function of food, I next move on to the psychological function of food. This you will all agree with. The day you have had good food, definitely you feel happy. So food has got a psychological connection. We find that whenever we are in a good frame of mind, most of the time it is connected with food. That means you have enjoyed the food you have eaten. Or on a social visit, you may comment that you enjoyed the party. What for? Of course, for other reasons, but one of the reasons could be that you enjoyed the food. The food definitely, what we find, brings a lot of satisfaction. And that is why what we find is that small children are very attached to their mother because the mother provides food to the child. Some people, what we find is that feel very depressed because they are unable to get good food. So this is the psychological function of food, which brings happiness in a person's life and is connected to food. We next move on to the next function, socio-cultural function of food. Whenever there is a get together, either in times of sorrow, in times of happiness, always food is there. Food is definitely a part of the function. In remembrance, wherever we go, we find that food is a definite part of a feast or of a sorrowful gathering. Food will definitely be there, which helps to bring people together. Many differences are sorted out at offices and all over a cup of tea, over by sharing each other's food. And this we find varies from region to region, country to country, and is not the same for all. So these happen to be the different functions of food. We next move on to the next subtopic, nutrition. What is nutrition in science? Nutrition, we find, studies the chemical reaction that is involved in the nutritional process within the body. So we can say it is a process of ingestion, that is eating the food, then digestion, that is digesting the food within the body by the help of the digestive system, followed by absorption. The food is then absorbed and by the different cells of the body and utilized for the well-being of the living organism. So nutrition, we can say, is a complete process made up of different steps: ingestion, digestion, absorption, and how to utilize this food for in the human body of the living organism. And we find that this nutrition varies, is not the same for all. It varies due to age, health problems, diseases, etc. It cannot be the same for all. And that's why what we find is that this body, that is why people have to eat different types of food. Like an elderly person will definitely cut down on proteins and carbohydrates because he doesn't need much energy to perform the different functions. So in this manner, what we find is that different people have different types of food for to provide the body with nutrition. Then we move to good nutrition. A person is said to be in a state of optimum nutrition or good nutrition when the nutrients supplied are properly utilized to give good health and well-being at the highest possible level. When a person is able to utilize the food that is eaten and the body is able to absorb it and keep the person healthy, that state is called as optimum or good nutrition. But people also suffer from malnutrition, and this malnutrition, we can say, is a state where a person may be lacking in one or more nutrients. That is, and this will retard or this will not help him in any form of physical development. So for this reason, what we find is that there will be symptoms which will show that a person is malnourished or has not got the proper nutrients in his diet. Like these days, children generally opt for fast foods. So they are deprived. They're unable to get all the nutrients in the foods. So just because the food fills their stomach, we cannot say the child has got good nutrition. On the other hand, the child is suffering from malnutrition because the child's food is lacking in one or more nutrients, which will definitely not affect the physical development and the appearance of the person. And soon we can see symptoms like anemia, goiter, etc., caused by lack of nutrients. Then that means sometimes, as I said, malnutrition is bad nutrition, which will be you can be undernourished, generally seen in poor families, where people are unable to provide all the nutrients in their diet. They're unable to buy the food, which will contain all the different nutrients. At the same time, eating too much is also malnutrition. It is a condition of overnutrition, which will make the person overweight and cause health related problems. So, in this manner, what we find is that nutrition will be good nutrition if the nutrients supplied are utilized properly for good health and helps the person to remain healthy at the best possible level. While malnutrition is bad nutrition caused when a person is undernourished, that is unable to have all the different nutrients in his diet, or overnutrition, means eating too much, is also malnutrition. When you are eating too much of a particular kind of food, like junk food, fast food, etc. And in this connection, we next move on to longevity or the lifespan of a person. Now, what we find is that due to good nutrition, today the lifespan of human beings has increased compared to olden days. Good medical facilities, good food, etc., has increased the longevity and decreased the rate of mortality. That is, death rate has gone down, especially in children. In countries where there are very good medical facilities, we find that the rate of mortality has decreased. The rate of mortality I would say, would mean that is the death rate. If a country can prove that its rate of mortality has decreased, that means it is a country moving towards development, or we can label it as a well-developed country. So morbidity is suffering on account of substandard health, which is generally seen in population who are below or close to the poverty line. So poverty line, we can say, is the basis which shows the barest or the minimum quantity of calorie a adult must have per day from the food he eats. And this is 2,100 calories a day in the city and 2,400 calories per day to be consumed by a rural population. A person who is above the poverty line would be a person who is able to buy food for himself in the city, which will provide him calories equal to 2,100, while in the rural or village area, the person gets around 20, needs more because they have to do more physical work. So that's 2,400 calories. So the India's official poverty line is split according to this. And so for urban dwellers, the poverty line is defined as living on rupees 538 per month. In the city and in the village, it is around 356 rupees. So people are said to be under the poverty line if they are unable to buy food for themselves, which will give them 2,100 calories of of energy in the city, and 2,400 calories of energy in the villages because they do more of physical work. We'll continue with this chapter in our next class. Thank you.